Welcome, everybody, to the second
Hello.
hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Friday, December 19th, 2025. And we welcome Susan and Susan.
Hey, welcome and happy holy days to everybody holding the space that these days that the culture has turned into holidays really truly are. Days that bring the experience and expression of wholeness to each and everyone that listens. So welcome. And what's exciting in your world? Anything to share?
I'm just wondering if Susan wants. I think she was where you were working on the last Dr. Tim show. I don't know if you want to continue doing that here, Susan.
Miss Susan B., how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I wasn't doing anything on Dr. Tim's. You mean Celinda?
Oh, that was Celinda. Sorry. Okay, wrong person. I wasn't sure. I wasn't. Okay, it was Celinda
No, it
doing
was
the work.
Celinda, and that was, yeah. I'm hoping she'll come on.
Yeah, that
Oh,
would be awesome. How are you doing,
awesome.
Susan? How are you feeling?
Um, really well, just finding that I need to sleep a lot.
That's good. That's
Big
sleep is good for
repair job
healing.
going on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
and anyway, I've loved having the radio show to listen to.
Yeah.
Cool.
Krishnamurti is very hard for me, Susan F. he
It's
his language is I have to go through a kind of screening process to understand what he's saying, and then he lands on something that I get, and I think, oh yeah, and then I want to say, back up. Maybe there are other ways that this could be worded so I would understand it
yeah.
better. It isn't
Mm.
a natural fit for me. Is it for you?
What I can tell you, I'm coming up against my own mind energy,
Uh-huh.
and there I can feel the deeper truth being exchanged through his words, and yet I'm wrestling with my intellect.
Yeah.
And when I go below the intellect and just receive
Mm.
the transmission energetically, it then creates, I want to say, seeds for me to understand. So I will go back. I mean, I take notes. That's my process of
Yeah.
bringing it into my mind, and then I want to go back and listen to it again because there were so many golden nuggets in there. I was like, wow, like it was like
Yeah.
like light bulbs going off, little
Right.
bing, bing,
Stop.
bing, 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 and I'm
Right.
like, oh my gosh. And Doug, Michael, they were talking. This was all about conflict and relationships and
Mm.
relating, and it's so
Right.
profound, and he, this, it's that,
And
yeah, it
having an
really
agenda and
is.
so forth. And
And realizing in my own case, how, so relating, there is no conflict when you're truly relating with someone, to be in exchange with someone just to see what truth is wanting to be revealed, and listening, and just allowing that space. And I realize in my experience, because of my wounding, of course, all what's coming up for me the last couple of days is this desire to be heard and to be understood and be seen. So the intention behind my relating is coming from more wounding, some cases, some not. Something like when I'm channeling, or when things are coming in, I'm not that. I'm in the space of really truth, to be present, and bring truth. And so there's a beautiful opportunity for me to just to be in presence, to really truly relate, to
well, the
be
relate
right.
idea is
Yeah.
exactly where it's at. Is this real relating, or do I have an agenda that I'm not even aware of? One of the scenarios where this is most intense is in the psychotherapy situation when someone comes in and has some issue, and never I try to stay absolutely open. What would be best here? Some instruction or just listening? listening to what? Listening to them go over a story, maybe in an unhealthy number of times, or to be an open person. And that's where it was all landing for me, is how have I been in my office. I'm doing right now, I have no clients. I'm not seeking clients. I take them if by word of mouth, if there is one. But that's always been the thing, is I want to trot out the tools and guide somebody through, but I also want to be in the place they need me to be so that we can really touch one another, communicate, link, connect, I guess is the words. And that word connect comes up a lot in the work here. But anyway, so
connection's important. That's probably my driver.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me what I'm about,
yeah,
like the core of my being is connection, and very interesting, because what I'm finding with all what's happened the last 2 days, where
Yeah.
I've touched my deepest wound,
mhm,
is there is a desperation for connection. Like it's
Oh, man.
it's a desperation for it. This little girl part. So there's a part of
Yeah.
the little girl part that fractured part of me, desperate yet desperately terrified to connect.
yeah.
So
And
it's interchanging, yeah.
in order, I have used fawning so much in my life, trying to be accommodating, pleasing, apologetic.
Yeah.
Even with my children here they're running upstairs bringing me a glass of lemon water or something. And I'll say, oh, thank you so much. And I'm sorry to be a nuisance. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? What is this? Can I just be soft and receive these gifts? And I'm loving them being here. But what am I training them in? To be embarrassed or ashamed or feel guilty for being not top notch, good shape, capable. And the other side of it is I rush in and want to help. I want to, help somebody feel better, rescue people. These are big, big drives that are all goal driven, unhealthy, and not connecting. They're not connecting machines. They're isolating machines.
And you know what I found the last 2 days for me?
What?
That part, when I'm in that now, I didn't know this. I have language for it, so I'd like to share. That part of me, whenever that arises, that desperation, I'll right back to the scene where I stood up for my brother and I was hit and left there on my own with no collecting. That's her.
Yeah.
Who's reaching out and doing the fawning, and then I get to go now, and oh my God, I've been crying like, and I processed all day yesterday, and then also before dream time, processing deep in dream time. I woke up crying, and this is so deep, and letting her know that I keep you resting in God, obviously, and that I am safe. And that it is safe to relate. But she doesn't believe that, because her evidence was men aren't safe. Her evidence is that she's unworthy. That's what the mind energy she took in. And in order to survive, you have to fawn. And also that the world isn't trusting. That is her beliefs right now. And so now I'm integrating this piece of me within me. And I did a meditation where I actually went to that scene, and at first Dr. Tim helped last night a bit, but I was still oscillating because I couldn't perceive her with my conscious mind to be present, because there's still that part is in fear. And so it went back and forth. And this morning I was able to go get her, and I really just held her, a lot of tears, and then I brought her back to the present moment, into my heart. And knowing like these deeper truths that she doesn't feel these things that I know to be true consciously, that the world is safe, that I can rest into the trust, and that I am worthy. So now it's going to be baby steps, and holding her tightly in my heart and showing her evidence where we are safe. evidence that we can trust, and evidence that I am worthy, till we actually unify and integrate fully. And so she wants to cut and run. Someone that's close to me, I find myself, there's a piece, and I wrote him an email this morning, and I just said, what's up? This is my experience right now, and I'm not going to run. And interesting, Palm 23:4 came up when I woke up. And that's when you're talking about going into the valley of death, and be my rod, and Palms 23:4 or whatever it is, that just landed. And so this is facing my biggest shadow, the depth of my shadow, this part of me that's so wounded. And it's been from the beginning. It took me right to my birth, where the umbilical cord was around my neck, and I didn't want to come back into the body. And the higher beings told me, they showed me the whole timeline of where I was going to end up, that this is the process to get there. But I disconnected right from that moment.
Wow.
So big stuff, really big stuff. And so I would say, just as I'm sitting here talking to myself through you, you get to hold that part of yourself who's a fawner, and that adaptation strategy, and that she wants to please everyone and thinks she's a burden, and that she has to get it right, and she's not doing it good enough. And the only way that our value comes is if we show that we have value for others. And with you being laid up, you can't present that value anymore. And so there's a part of you that might be feeling unworthy. And I want to say, this is a beautiful point, that you have the rest to collect that part of you, and just get to be present with her and say, oh, my darling, I'm here.
That's wonderful that you feel those tender feelings toward that little self of yours.
I do now. Yeah. I'm there. I'm there. It's going to be a work in progress. It's a process. It's the process of bringing her home. And I keep using the word cognitive dissonance, because a part of me that doesn't feel safe is coming up against that parts that wanting to show me that I am. And even my other friend there, he came as a support team. God brought him as support, and I only saw him as an enemy. That just landed this morning. He was brought there for my support. This is a friend of yours
in your regular life, not on the radio show.
Yeah. Pardon me?
This is a friend in your life.
Yes, this is someone he was a counselor and a teacher in my past.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And then he's come back around again, and also a friend, so somewhat of a friend. Nice. And but I saw as an enemy, like just projected all over. And so it was this morning it came that God brought him as a mirror.
Yeah.
So I could walk myself home, and I couldn't see it. I was so blind by my trauma. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah.
An offering.
Okay.
Time to dig out the power person. Workbook is what I hear you saying, Susan.
Susan,
and what I hear you referring to. Say again?
Which Susan? You got to be clear. I get very confused.
Yes.
Both Susans. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So my offering on the root of the conversation, that you feel, Susan B., that you need to apologize for someone taking care of you.
Yeah.
Is probably a reflection of power person who did not have what they needed in their lives in order to have the abundance and the connection to love, to provide the caring that a new little one deserves. And we are created for that kind of caring and that kind of nurturing. And unfortunately, because of the culture, the way the world has been set up, sadly, a lot of parents don't have the emotional wherewithal, don't have the tools to restore themselves to love. And therefore, either the actual message, I don't have time for you, I can't be bothered with you, or the assumed message on the part of the child is like, I'm not valued here. I don't have any, I'm just an interruption. And if that's the kind of message that's been received, then my offering would be that's the time to pick up that worksheet and go to that route. And let's eradicate that from humanity so that every child that comes in, that every parent has the wherewithal, has the resources, has the capacity, has the awareness of themselves as beings, that when a little one is conceived, that little one it's understood that everything that happens through that 9-month period is imprinted on that little one, and that the first hours, especially after birth, that the stress of birth prepares the child to learn more than it will learn at any other moment in its lives. And sadly, a lot of mothers are knocked out cold. They're not even there. And fathers are told to be, go get drunk and give out cigars. And so a child comes into the world from this warm 98.6 degrees, maybe a little bit warmer temperature place, where the most they've ever seen are, dull red light coming through mother's stomach, and all of a sudden they're in a 62-degree room with a bright light shining in their faces. Their spines have been, is everybody breathing, by the way? Their spines have been in the womb curved in this fetal position for several months now, in a space that's pretty tight. And so the skin is probably about as tender as, third-degree burns. And somebody grabs them by the feet, by the ankles that have never been touched before, snaps their spine out straight, and holds them up and hits them so they cry. I mean, hello, what are we doing? And they're just energetic patterns that need to be resolved. It's like time for that stuff to get healed.
And
And
then
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Susan's from a bigger family than mine. I was 4th of 5. She's 7th of 8, right? Or 8th of 7.
Yeah, 7th, yeah, 7th of 8.
7th of 8. And you have an exhausted mother. Our culture isn't set up for one human being. The father's out trying to make a living, God love him, in the old traditional setup anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Our whole culture needs shifting around so that mothers are not my mother was she was a sweetheart, but she was at the end of her rope.
Yeah.
So much of the time. She had nothing to give. She was starving to death herself for input, connection. She was lonesome. And so, I've talked to you about forgiving my mother. I never could entrust my soul to my mother, but I did forgive her. And that's a weird combination, to accept her and love her, but not tell her who I am, even at the end of her life. And so anyway, it's a huge problem. There's too much laid on women, mothers.
Absolutely.
I mean, thank God for you and Jeannie taking care of these little guys. That's what we need. We need that village. They always say it takes a village. It really does. So anyway, going on a tangent, I know.
Well, there was an interesting meme that came across my page the other day, and it referred to a certain politician who said they want more immigrants from Norway. And so a Norwegian person wrote this in response: I have reviewed the offer, and I have to decline. The benefits of the package is terrible. You offer 2 weeks of vacation. If we're lucky, we in Norway get 5. Your maternity leave is good luck. We get a year. Your healthcare plan is GoFundMe. Well, ours is free. Your safety net is just thoughts and prayers. Moving to the U.S. right now feels like leaving a spa to go to work in a burning hot dog stand. Thanks, but we'll stay in the snow, wrote this Finnish or Norwegian person.
That's wonderful.
And we need to, our society, sadly, has become so profit oriented, so addicted to the dopamine hit of I get something and I have this dopamine hit, that addiction
Mm,
allows sanity to just disappear.
mm,
And the ability to really even start to form perceptions about what's truly important
mm.
are pretty much washed out of most people's minds by
Right.
the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at the latest. And that's all, those early years are all based what formulates the mind, the perceptual mind of the adult decades later happens in those years. And individually and collectively, that's one of the reasons why I created that book on Power Person, is this is what is running the world today.
Mm.
I mean, I
Um,
don't care where you go. The stress is so high that virtually everybody is functioning out of the power person dynamic. The third
mm.
level, doing what their power person did to them that they hated the most, hoping to just survive and no tools with which to work through it. That's the dilemma we're facing.
It brings me to the quote of Dr. I think it's Dan Siegel, who said, "Our environment creates our mind, and then our mind creates our environment."
Creates the environment. Yeah.
Mm.
So the first
Our
7
mind
years are
becomes the
critical.
environment in which
Mm,
our ability to even conceive is limited. That's
yeah.
why perception has to go. I mean, literally, that we're designed, if you hold a newborn child, everybody's done that exercise with us many times. You hold a newborn and you get a taste of the active presence of love.
Mm.
If one has lost that, the ability to experience that in their own physiology about themselves, each time they forgive, they get at least an instant, the mind comes back online pretty fast, but they get at least an instant to taste that. And if they'll consistently, persistently allow themselves to taste that, then it becomes a viable option. And the whole construct of life that the mind presents to us that we've been brainwashed into disappears. It goes. That's the self that Yeshua said, in order for this true state of being to live, that we have to die, that non-being self literally has to go. Carrie, you have a thought for us, young lady.
I I do. I have a thought and a kind of a question. I came to this conversation late, so I apologize. But one of the things that I'm hearing you say is that when we are unable to accept the gifts of others, like the caring, for example, and we have to apologize rather
Right.
than receive and say thank you, that is coming from a power person dynamic, because I always thought it was a cultural thing that we had.
Culture is based in power person dynamics. It
Okay.
runs the world. And
How does
the
that?
conversation started out with Susan, having just had hip surgery, was acknowledging that she was apologizing for her
Hmm.
children who came to take care of her, for them coming and taking care of her.
Right,
And so,
right.
there was a fair bit of conversation around that. And so I was pointing out that there, get out the power person worksheet, because that's the result of a dynamic where parents are so consumed by the demands of the culture that the message the child gets is, you don't deserve to exist. You don't deserve to be here. You're an
Hmm.
interruption. And
What about the
if
transactional aspect of things like that? Oh, if you do something for me, then I owe you, kind of
well,
thing.
that's the
Is
profit
that?
motive, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're back to, now it all becomes about the buck. And that's the brainwash of the culture, that it all becomes about the buck.
Or I owe you in like kind or something.
You know,
So,
rather than the natural state of the true human being, that no matter who's in front of them, no matter what, if Rachma in Cuba are active, the natural state is abundance, is generosity, is the ability to embrace, to hold, to care for, to have concern for. But to do that, we have to breathe. And you just watch most interactions that happen, and most people are at best subventilating, at worst holding their breath most of the time.
So, in order to heal the cultural aspects of what we are bathed in every day, and so this is interesting because one of the things that I'm finding is that as I'm healing and doing my inner shadow work and all of that, is that
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of cultural things differently. It's like I have seen a lot of systems that aren't working that I never saw before.
Right. You're living in revelation rather than perception.
Right. So, oh, that's so interesting. I never made that connection before about the personal and the cultural being so intertwined but it makes total sense because if we're all functioning from that place, then that's how we create our culture of things. So the communal trauma that we may have suffered and projected onto other things like colonialism, for example. So in this country, a lot of people who came here originally were convicts and prisoners, or they were
escaping from religious persecution.
Right, that sort of thing, and projecting then their persecution onto other people, which evolved into this colonialism thing.
Well, you look at the fact, or you look at the fact that there are at least, and I think these numbers are current, there are at least 14 states in the United States. Now, I think the average rent for a home for a family of three is something like $1,300. There are 14 different states who have a minimum wage of $5.25 to $7.25 an hour. What parent can take care of a child and even put food on the table for the child, let alone give the child the kind of care that a newborn needs? Who can do that? I mean, literally at $5.25 an hour. And that's because we have this profit game going on that everybody's going to try to make as much of it, get as much of the pie as they can, rather than, oh, we have a pie. Let's grow the pie and let's make sure everybody gets a piece. It's pretty bizarre when you really look at it from that point. I mean, $1,300 for just an apartment.
It's not just economics,
Oh yeah.
That concept right there runs through everything, not just our financial world. It runs through everything.
Exactly.
So I think that's why, like, the patriarchy has really come up for me. And all of the violence I see projected by governments and cultures on other cultures. So it's not that I didn't see that before. It's that I'm seeing it with new eyes and feeling it with new feels.
Right.
So
I hear you.
So going on from there, would I do a worksheet on those cultural things rather than going to my power person dynamic? Or should I just stick
my
with
offering
the
is
power
always
person?
all of the above. It's every tool. It might be, when we finish with the codependent session the other night, we finished with, okay, so the next step is dig out the responsibility communication. here's an issue in a relationship, so let's dig out the responsibility communication. And so it's literally, you know, of the tools we teach, I don't know, we think we've identified something like 35 or 36 different tools. And of course, everybody's got tools they've acquired in other places in the world. It's to use every tool that we've got, because the dynamic of it, you know, I've quoted this before, and I haven't read this in a while on the show, so I'm going to bring it in for some of the ears that haven't heard it before. But the same dilemma that we're talking about here, and that you're questioning, Carrie, was written about 300 years ago by a man named Francois Fenelon. This guy wrote around 1700. He was actually a Catholic archbishop, and he understood, you know, what the work was. And here's what he says, and this is what we all need to address. As the light increases, we see ourselves to be worse than we thought. We're amazed at our former blindnesses as we see issuing forth from the depths of our heart a whole swarm of shameful feelings, like filthy reptiles crawling from a hidden cave. We never could have believed that we harbored such things, and we stand aghast as we watch them gradually appear. But while our faults diminish, the light by which we see them waxes brighter, and we're filled with horror. Bear in mind, he says, for your comfort, that we only perceive our malady when the cure begins. That was written 300 years ago.
Yeah, there have always been enlightened ones.
Yeah, and we come in, and what does our culture do? It shows us trinkets. It keeps us engaged in the outer world, rarely inviting us to step into the inner world to look at and clean up the mess. But out there, it's stuff, things, toys, trinkets, shiny beads, money.
And things to get upset about.
Oh, yes. We have
You
a
know,
big sale.
not,
Yep.
yeah, not
Blame.
just toys and trinkets, but politics, wars.
One world universal religion of blame.
Yeah. So stay with the Power Person worksheet. And
well, my offering would be, there's an aspect of it that belongs there, and that takes it to depth. But use every other tool that you've got. Again, you might use the forgiveness process. You might use the responsibility communication. It might just be, man, there's so much moving for me right now. I just need to lay down and breathe.
Yeah.
And, you know, the responsibility communication idea is, and you know, the fact that we finished the codependence session with that suggestion the other night, that's part of that codependence self-study. You know, it's a way to separate what happened from the story the mind creates and meshes it all together, so that the old pain comes up for healing rather than recycling it into current relationships. Because the mind will recycle anything we hold our breath on, anything we deny and dissociate from. Our mind, if it's resonated into activity, is going to make it part of the construct of our mind, the perception, the world we think we see out there that's painted on the inside of our eyeballs. And so each tool as appropriate, because when, you know, the core principle that when love is conscious, active, and present, the unconscious thought disorders dissolve. When fear and hostility run the mind, perception just, it's crazy. I mean, you listen to that Norwegian person's response to the invitation to immigrate to America. And it's like, wow, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Okay.
And hopefully we're breathing.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, the two Susans for letting me step in there.
Awesome. Any other thoughts?
I would just offer for Carrie to, if you get a chance to listen to today's radio show with Dr. Tim, because he was reading from Krishnamurti, exactly what Michael's saying about it's all coming from the inner world. And it was about conflict, it's about relating, being in relationship. So it's just a perfect lead in.
Ah, sweet. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Tim.
Yeah, Dr. Tim, I know he always seems to be just right following those things. So yeah, in Krishnamurti, the paragraph that's being read is very deep, but so much truth in alignment with this. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that to Carrie.
And I see that Terry Bowling has joined us. And Terry, many of you know him from the Codependent session. He's been on the show before. And Terry's working on a book, actually. He's writing a book called Why Again? Because when he ran into why is this happening to me again 27 years or so ago, it changed his life. And so he's writing a book on his experience about the forgiveness work, which I think is pretty cool. And he started a Substack program. He just sent me his first one today, which I was pretty excited about, and I posted it on my Facebook page. But Terry, you want to share a little bit about what you're doing and ask everybody or invite everybody to join your Substack? He's breaking it down. Well, I'll leave it him to tell you about it.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I was pretty excited about it, and this has been a conscious process that's been going on this book for almost 15 years since I was out at Heartland. In fact, it's been over 15 years, and I started the draft.
Is that long since? Terry, is it 15 years since you were on the support team at Heartland?
Yeah, it was 2009 and 2010.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I kept all my journals and books. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. In my basement, there's still all the whiteboards with all the stuff that you and David were doing, and that's all been left intact. Maybe I'll have to get some pictures of it and send it to you for shots to put in your book.
That would be really nice. That'd be very nice. Anything that's archival like that would really be a powerful addition to us.
But you know how you guys had the lower level set up as the office? Well, all those whiteboards are still there with all of the original writing on them. So next time I'm out there, we'll send pictures. Or maybe next time we're out there.
Yeah. And maybe I'll be able to meet you out there. That's what I'm hoping. Cool. Yeah. But the book has been, Ian's doing really well. He has come out of his tailspin and has re-engaged in his recovery track and is back at a very strong level. And there's a little phrase in the recovery work that says, a relapse, if we survive, can be a catalyst to take us to the next level of our work.
Right.
So this was it was a very, very brutal. The poor boys had a very brutal path. On he had the energies, the parallels of things are so interesting and powerful. Is that he had a head trauma at around the age of 5. And it was a really bad accident, and it cut his head open down to the skull, and it was horrible. It's hard, and he was in the shock, and we rushed him down the mountain to try to get him to hospital.
Breathing with you.
Yeah, he came through that okay, considering how okay you can be after something like that. But one of the first word that he ever spoke was ball. It wasn't mom, it wasn't dad, it was ball, ball, ball. He loved sports. And even with all the cautionary advice, he insisted on getting out there, and he played football and basketball, and he probably at least a half a dozen more concussions that he went through. And so he's had some severe head trauma. And for myself, the parallels, when I was 5, I had an emotional trauma. It was around my father was, as many of you know, was a violent and abusive criminal, alcoholic, and it's generational genetics and all that stuff we understand, but it still doesn't make it any prettier that you've gone through it. But when that one event occurred, I witnessed at around the same age Ian was, he had his head trauma. It's when I completely disconnected from my emotions, and I knew I always felt a little different, but I didn't really have, a way to compare my insides with anybody else's insides. So I just thought I was like everybody else, that everybody else experienced it the same way. Only through years of work and progress, I understand some of what's going on. And one of the key insights, which is in today's Substack writing, was right at the beginning when I was in my first rehab and detox. I was about 24 years old, and I was going through the little cafeteria line, and one of the counselors looked over at me, and he was handing me my tray, and he said, "I know what you are." He said, "You're a sociopath." I was kind of shocked and took a step back and went on through the line and scrambled around a little later to find a dictionary, because I wasn't sure I wanted to understand what he was saying exactly, precisely as possible. And I looked it up, and I thought, wow, finally somebody gets me. That was my response. It's like he understands who and what I am. So I went back and asked this guy to be my sponsor, which blew his mind. He wasn't, ready for that kind of response. I don't know what he was expecting, but he wasn't expecting that. And but that relationship didn't last very long once they got out. So with all that said, that was those moments that occur in my life, and maybe in everybody else's, but I'm real careful about ever implying that someone else is having the same experience as I am, because that's just not something I can prove. Is that there are these moments when things are accented, they vibrate at a different kind of level, and they're making an impression that you just don't forget. They stick with you. So that one stuck with me. And on through my process, the 12-step stuff and all that later on, I realized that my problem definitely was not alcohol, that I had issues before I ever had my first drink or drug, and that they manifested as criminal behavior from the age of 9, and certain things that just you wouldn't think or want to imagine ever that a 9-year-old could do, or 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13, I don't know. And what would happen was that some stress would be up. I would go into that mode where there was no connection to any feelings. I always had a hard time really connecting with emotional feelings around things that most people easily and readily connect with. And that has been a source of confusion, and also a source of curiosity. It's like, what is it that's going on here? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening over and over again? And until I really got to Michael's first lecture and connected with him and began to study that book, I thought this guy needs to be a Nobel Prize winning dude. They need to put him up in the wherever they put Nobel Prize winning guys. And it's like I was blown away all this information in that book, and that's why I'm on my 14th reading. I've used it as a text guide and study it back through to just deepen it and increase my understanding and awareness of the tools he's got in there, and everything opened up and branched out at a new level for me that did not. Now the AA program, it allowed me to arrest the use of substances, and that was huge. However, there was always this thing going on where I didn't really fit that whole MO, and I would project, well, they all do the same thing that I do. They're just lying about it, and I would make up all kinds of stories and what have you around it. And now we've come full circle to where I was able to really put it out there. And I went through a lot of fear to put this out, because now I'm gonna say this to the family and to relatives, to customers, everybody. It's open to the world. And Michael, you added that one extra word that I love when you put reluctant. As I said, the subtitle is why again, and that is the premise is like, okay, why am I continually and connected, it seems forever, to the why again word? And then the little subtitle is Adventures of a Reluctant Sociopath. So with that, I'm owning the fact that I was exhibiting, and they call it ASPD now. That's a fancier, prettier word. They try not to label people as sociopaths, and I think that guy may have crossed the line at the time when he just threw that label on me after he didn't know very much, but he was very accurate, in my opinion. So the antisocial personality disorder, that's the fancy label. And then they'll have sociopathy, and of course the pathology is the next level that they say is even worse. Those are where you get your serial killers and those kind of guys out of the pathological derangement of people. And that's it. This is a story of how I've navigated through life, what happened, what's going on, what it was like, and where I'm at today. And it's very exciting, very exciting. Got any questions, feedback, response on that?
Well, I'm excited for you, Terry, in that, I've watched you for many, many, many years do your work, and, go layer by layer, level by level. And so I'm delighted to be here holding this space for the next level and to support your writing. But, one of the things I've said about Jeannie's book is it's going to be the first account of somebody getting into the grit of the real work of Yeshua. And I'm excited to see what you come up with, because I think you're going to be right up there in line, dealing with the interesting. Jeannie's is going to be from the female side, and yours is going to be from the male side. So it's, I think, going to be a couple of powerful guideposts for how to integrate and how to really do the work that Yeshua taught in some of the most difficult circumstances. Both of you are facilitating that and putting that out in the world. And so I'm excited.
Me too, very much so. And everything just makes so much more sense. It's like, okay, all my life, it's like, okay, I've got this purpose. What is it? And we've done a lot of work around that. And, now I can see that this piece of work here that I'm able to put out, everything else prior to that had to happen in order for it to get to the point that it's at today, and that I couldn't tell this story from a perspective of being in the middle of it. This is this is in the fourth quarter of life, and I've gotten through so much stuff that it's incredible and amazing, and so many things and parts and pieces will come together. And I think that I Googled the number of sociopaths, and it's a really big number of people that can be labeled with the ASPD. And so now there's going to be a way that they can understand themselves more and learn how to function better with life, because it has not been easy, brother. And I'm not saying it's easy for anybody. Life is difficult, like Scott Peck says in his first chapter of his book, Road Less Traveled. Life is difficult, and the first moment that we truly accept that, it starts to get easier.
And Terry, I just
My
wanted to
offering,
say, oh, go ahead.
we just throw, while you're talking about the fourth quarter, I'll invite you to maybe
Yeah.
shift that into the first millionth quarter of eternity.
The first
and
millionth.
yeah, and life. My offering would be I would want to adjust Scott Peck's thought just a little bit. Life, when we're dead, is difficult. When we're not living as human beings, is difficult. When we choose to, or when we understand, or when we find a way to truly recuperate our human lives, that whole game changes.
Now, that's a very, very astute distinction. And the people that I study, and I feel like truly are coming from a place where they've experienced that, they're able to describe life as joy, joyful, love, loving. They use words that I can know at some level, but I haven't been able to totally embrace it and just really truly know it, except for moments here and there. So like the one when I was leaving Heartland, that was a magnificent live moment when I was in that hotel room somewhere out in Arkansas or
Oh
somewhere.
yeah, you called the radio show that day. Yeah, that one hangs in my memory. That for anybody who may not have been on that show, that's when Terry was heading back from Heartland. He called into the radio show, and well, why don't you share what you experienced that morning, because it was
I woke up.
Monumental.
Yes, I woke up, and for the first time in my life that I can recall, I woke up with a sense of joy, aliveness, goodness. I've carried a sense of impending doom all my life, and it would have to work through that immediately upon coming back to conscious awareness. But that morning, I woke up and it was beautiful. I was beautiful right then and there. And it was just, it just.
And I remember it was. I remember it was. It was physiological. That's that's what we're designed for. That's what our physiology is designed for.
Exactly. And it was monumental to have that freedom and to be experienced. And it was like, okay, I didn't have to do anything. I just opened my eyes, and it was there.
I'm with you. I remember that call. That was awesome.
Thank you so much, Terry, for, oh my gosh, and what I love, living through your experience, through your eyes, and that you're being able to give language to what was happening inside you in your book. And like you referenced the number of sociopaths that maybe never had a sense of belonging or understanding. So to bring this into the world so people have a framework that they also are included. And there is a path to their own serenity. And I didn't realize this, just the last couple of days, walked in the world with this sense of anxiety that the world is unsafe, can't be trusted. That's just that since my origin, and even with Michael described at the beginning, getting slapped and also being the umbilical cord around my neck, that it came in that way. So that was my norm. So unraveling that, I'm so excited and happy to join the Substack and what you get to bring and be all of you in this world. And I really appreciate you, and also your testament to how this work works if we stick with it. So thank you so much.
Another key piece, like in my life, is that what I know about yours, which is just enough to know that it was some pretty heavy duty stuff. It's like we take down a barrier right there. Okay, your life was bad. We get it. We understand what bad is. Let me share a little bit with you. But even with that going on, it's still possible to move through it It's no matter what, no matter how horrible it was, and it was horrible. There's no, minimizing that. It was horrible.
Breathing with y'all, holding the space, every one of us undoing that. The roots of the insanity that runs our culture. So joining each and every one of you doing that.
And then also
Coming into that state of physiological joy and aliveness that we're designed for.
And I just want to add, when Terry was speaking, I thought of my father, of his start in that sociopathic behavior, because he did some, horrendous things to his children. And that part, not being able to feel and being out of touch with feelings. And I know that in myself. It didn't go to the state of doing harm like that and not being able to feel the impact that would have on others. I felt deeply on the inside and fawned my way through to try to get connection. And for him, yeah, he was also. So Terry, I so appreciate you framing that so I could also see my own father in new eyes.
Yeah, Terry, without getting into the story, Terry has shared with me what happened at 5, and the type, if ever you look at the violent or the criminal or the sociopath or the abuser, think back to that child of 5 and the nervous system was so shocked and overwhelmed by what happened that there's just a disconnect. It's not anything of volition. There's nothing evil about it. It's just the disconnection that happens. And, we started out the conversation with the show, the desire for connection. That's what we need to be doing, is reconnecting with ourselves and with each other.
Yes.
So breathing with you, Terry, and thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And I look forward to watching your Substack posts unfold. If anybody wants to sign up for it, I'm not sure exactly how to do it. Just go to substack.com and search for Terry Bowling, Bowling.
Terry Ray Bowling.
Terry Ray, Wray. Yeah, there you go. So join that, and you got our support, Terry. I'm excited.
Yes, and I've had your support all along. I'm so appreciative of that. Just very, very appreciative.
You got it, 2,000%. Pass it on. That's the most important piece of it.
Mm.
That piece that you offer of the power of one human being really, truly being there for another is incalculable.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Any thoughts to share with Terry, or anything else moving that anyone wants to language before we close it out? Well, we'll make sure to keep Miss Susan B. in our hearts and extending our love in her direction, as she's 2 days out of having her hip replaced, and she actually did her Pilates class today. I mean, it's amazing. So anyway, extending love in your direction, and everybody else, thank